Night falls on the great harbor of Syracuse.
But there's no silence. Just wood grinding against wood!
Athenian triremes, the most advanced warships in the Greek world, packed so tight their oars scrape each other's hulls.
Captains scream for room that doesn't exist.
A prow nudges astern.
A stern swings into another hull.
And somewhere in that crowded darkness, a sailor realizes something terrifying. The fleet can't turn.
On the map, the problem is simple and unforgiving.
Even the water can't decide where to go.
Tiny slips become a fleet's tragedy.
Labor replaces battle. Pull, hold, win!
The more they move, the less they can move.
In one breath, he realizes the harbor is the enemy.
The door looks peaceful until you try to use it.
The message is clear. The exit is engineered. Syracuse wins by not reacting.
Power becomes useless when it can't swing. The harbor isn't scenery, it's the trap.
Space shrinks, exits close. Time finishes the job.
You can hear the lock, even over the shouting.
Now the pressure peaks, and there's nowhere to bleed it off.
But how did this battlefield become a weapon? If you want to understand how war shaped our world, stay with us.
If you want the next forgotten world, subscribe, and we'll uncover it together.
Athens sails not for a raid, but for a decision. A democracy chooses war the way storms choose coasts.
Nicias sees the enemy first as distance. They launch a machine built from wood, lungs, and belief.
Syracuse doesn't panic. It measures.
He reads the coastline like a trap blueprint.
Defense becomes construction, fast and local.
A siege turns war into waiting, and waiting into weakness.
They try to build certainty in stone and dirt.
Syracuse answers engineering with engineering. He doesn't plan a battle, he plans a squeeze.
Athens is divided between caution and urgency. They gamble on darkness to restore momentum.
Every step is a question the enemy might answer.
The night doesn't hide them, it scrambles them!
The opportunity closes quietly, like a door.
Syracuse prepares the lock, while Athens searches for leverage.
They turn a harbor into a controlled corridor.
Now Athens understands the real target, the door.
Supplies become a countdown you can hear.
He realizes the battle is about options, not courage.
Patience is a tactic when the terrain is working for you. Athens tries to outdiscipline a trap. The door tightens because someone is tightening it.
Retreat becomes the plan, because staying becomes a sentence.
Then superstition enters the chain of decisions.
He delays, and the clock keeps walking.
For Syracuse, time is an ally that never sleeps.
They begin retreat by shedding weight, like an animal running.
They leave the sea because the sea has been claimed.
The city tightens, quietly, efficiently.
Now the army becomes a single moving problem.
Syracuse doesn't follow the army. It follows its options. Leadership becomes gestures that must travel faster than fear. Containment is cheaper than combat, and more final. He chooses discipline the way you choose breath.
The harbor returns, this time made of stone. Was this a master plan, or a chain of Athenian mistakes?
Inside the hull, courage is just waiting for a signal. They don't need to win everywhere, only where Athens must go. In a crowd, steering becomes negotiation. The hardest order is to wait when you can see the enemy straining.
They try to build contingencies inside a room that's shrinking.
Now it's one question. Will Syracuse yield the door?
And Syracuse's answer is silence and resistance.
This is what Athens does best. Coordinated force.
But force needs room to translate into speed.
Their plan isn't to win the first contact. it's to win the second. He tries to punch a hole through a door that was built to stay shut. Nicias hears the trap in the sound of timber.
The first mistake looks like a small correction.
The defender's courage is holding, while the attacker is moving. Then the plan collides with reality. Stop or crash.
In the choke point, every ship becomes the other ship's enemy.
Syracuse waits for the jam, then squeezes.
They don't chase hulls, they stick. The sea turns tactical into mechanical. Under pressure, leadership becomes two competing rhythms.
And now the trap is almost locked, because the crowd has formed.
You can hear the lock even before it clicks.
Now it's just one question. Will the enemy step exactly where you want?
Contact begins as a surge. Athens trying to force the door. Syracuse meets motion with resistance.
Demosthenes orders speed before the gap closes. Audio is characterized by the sounds of a naval battle, with the prominent sounds of clashing swords and the whoosh of arrows. The first clash isn't steel, it's steering.
The door answers with a tremor.
In the basin, signals don't travel, they bounce.
Syracuse squeezes only when the crowd forms.
Every inch of space is fought for with wood. Disruption starts as a command to stop. Hold!
In congestion, control becomes a wish. The fleet turns into a crowd, and crowds don't maneuver.
Syracuse denies the shoreline the way a hand covers a mouth.
For one sailor, the sea suddenly has walls.
The lock is muscle, not magic. He wins by refusing to widen the fight. Every correction creates a new collision. Disruption isn't panic, it's lost timing.
Even the water can't decide where to go.
Hold the line! Messages arrive late, because the basin eats distance. The defender's order is simple. Make the room smaller.
Friction replaces strategy.
The fleet is now fighting itself for space. He realizes the harbor is the enemy.
Pressure arrives not as chaos,
but as organization.
Back! The door doesn't open, it clamps.
Endurance becomes a resource, and it's draining.
Syracuse doesn't need a breakthrough, only a choke.
The worse it gets, the more ships get pulled into it.
Coordination collapses one interruption at a time. The lock is maintained in real time. Back! The plan doesn't fail in one moment, it erodes. He looks for an exit and sees a wall made of ships. He doesn't need heroics. He needs the door to stay small.
Discipline becomes the last thing keeping panic out.
Sometimes the most terrifying sound is the pause.
The crowd feels the walls closing.
On the table, the outcome is visible. Too many hulls, one door.
The rhythm breaks, and the harbor becomes a cage.
The pivot moment isn't a brilliant move. It's the moment they realize there's no move left.
Syracuse commits the reserve, not to strike, but to compress. Nicias tries to create space by pulling backward, inside a crowd that can't reverse. Hold! Demosthenes pivots to control damage, because the wedge is gone. The pivot is visible from above. The room is shrinking. They attempt the impossible. Reverse a crowd. One ship's correction becomes another ship's collision.
Collapse begins as physics.
Syracuse doesn't sprint into chaos. It meters the squeeze. They close the sides so the center can't breathe.
Hold! His leadership becomes touch, because words can't cut through the noise. Even the aggressive commander has to choose order over speed.
When commands contradict, the body becomes the battlefield.
A single sideways hull becomes a gate.
The pivot completes. The trap is no longer forming. It's formed. Collapse begins when belief can't find a path forward. Retreat fails because the crowd still thinks it's advancing.
Tiny slips become strategic failures.
Hold! The sides seal and the center is trapped. He sees it clearly now. The harbor is a room, and the key is gone.
When initiative dies, you feel it in the hands.
Survival becomes damage control, inch by inch. The lock doesn't need to crush, only to hold.
Restraint is how the trap avoids breaking. Collapse spreads the way crowds panic by imitation.
When sound fails, command becomes mime! The fleet is still alive, but no longer mobile.
Containment becomes a system, not a moment.
The pivot ends here. Athens stops trying to win and starts trying to survive. He understands the truth. The door is no longer the objective. A fleet designed for movement becomes an island of timber.
He turns the harbor into a ring. He lets the trap do the work. The final domino falls! There is no lane left!
When cadence stops, a trireme is just wood. The harbor has become a weapon, and it's firing without moving.
On the map, the collapse is clean. Congestion plus control equals capture.
He's not defeated by men. He's defeated by a door. But the victory has a price, and the bill arrives fast.
The harbor is quiet now, because movement has been removed from the equation.
Victory doesn't look like cheering. Sometimes it looks like maintaining a perimeter.
Containment becomes administration. Hold points, rotate watches, prevent a break.
Now Athens has to answer a different question. Not how to win, but how to leave. The aggressive mind meets a problem it can't outmuscle. The end of a battle can look like procedure, because everyone is trying to prevent panic.
Here is the cost. The expedition's reserves are gone, or close to it.
And the defenders pay too. Holding a trap means holding it all night.
When the sea closes, the land becomes the only exit.
The seed of the next disaster is planted. Syracuse can now predict where Athens must go.
A retreat is a math problem. What you carry, what you leave, and what you can still protect.
The harbor trap is only Act 1, because the real capture happens on roads.
Another cost is human. Commanders aren't machines, and endurance has limits.
Athens tries to turn an evacuation into a formation. Terrain repeats itself. Another door. Another lock.
We march here, flanking the main road.
They plan in dirt, because time won't allow more. Forward!
Syracuse doesn't chase blindly. It releases pressure at the right time.
The evacuation starts, still believing discipline can outrun a net.
Information advantage is a weapon, and Syracuse now owns it.
This battle's fingerprint is simple. When terrain becomes a door, timing becomes a lock.
And the harbor trap sets the stage for the next one. on dry ground.
Cost, immediate. Every day after Syracuse is smaller than the day before. Cost, on the winning side. The trap demands attention until the story is finished. The fleet that brought empire now feels like a hollow shell. Long-term impact begins immediately. Syracuse survives, and Athens' confidence cracks.
The mind keeps turning back, even when the body has to move on.
The seed of disaster grows. Athens is now being herded.
A chain of decisions, each reasonable, can still lead into a room with no door.
The battle ends, but the campaign accelerates.
For the city, survival looks like one more morning.
And once again, a bottleneck begins to rewrite their choices.
The trap is about to repeat, because the map has only so many exits.
Fingerprint locked. The harbor didn't just contain ships, it redirected fate. Modern takeaway at a safe level. If you control bottlenecks, you control tempo, whether it's traffic, supply, or information flow.
Modern takeaway. Under pressure. Simplify priorities. Protect the core systems first.
Modern takeaway. Information advantage multiplies the value of terrain.
Modern takeaway. Controlling choke points isn't only military. It's how cities and markets stay stable.
Disclaimer. Ancient battles are not templates for modern harm. Today's contexts, laws, and ethics are different.
But what if this victory planted the seed of the next disaster?
Because after the harbor comes the road.